Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us this evening for our kindergarten welcome night. I'm Mark Wenzel. I'm the superintendent here in Anacortes, and I'm joined by a group of colleagues who are going to be on the line. Everyone from our principals to our district nurse to others who can help answer questions as they come up. We're just really excited to welcome you this evening and hopefully build some enthusiasm about kindergarten next year, and give you an overview of the program, talk a little bit about how we're preparing for it, and then try to answer your questions in the meantime. So we're anticipating 30 to 40 minutes maybe, but we'll take as much time as we need to provide the information and answer your questions. So thanks again for joining us this evening. We'll go ahead and get started here. Hold on, there we go. So here are just a few photos from our district of kindergarten in action, and we love celebrating young people in our district. And I think we often talk about how much energy it gives us as administrators and teachers to be around kids. I was with a teacher today who was sharing with me on a personal note how difficult the school closure was, and the Zoom calls and being socially distanced. And he said, I realized that 95% of the reason I do what I do is the kids and being around the kids, and they give me energy and they make me love my job. And so I found that to be a really rewarding comment, and also a comment that I think is commonly shared across our district. I think you'll find that in Anacortes, and those of you who have older siblings, I imagine this has been your experience, but our teachers and our staff love the kids that we serve. And I think these photos here, including a parent photo there at the bottom, kind of show the excitement of learning and the excitement of being in kindergarten and being at school. I wanted to give you just a quick overview of our program, and then we have a couple of kindergarten teachers who are going to share from their perspective what it's like, what the kindergarten year looks like in Anacortes, and sort of some of what you might expect as you send your kids off to kindergarten next year. For those of you, again, who have older children, you've experienced this, but hopefully you can rekindle some of that excitement of having a child enter kindergarten. So there's just a few bullet points on this slide, but the first one is that we do pride ourselves in Anacortes on being a high-achieving district with support for all learners. And I think that last part is really important. We think about the individual learning needs of children, and we really try to create a program that meets those individual needs. We know that every child is unique. For those parents who have more than one child at home, I'm sure you can agree with that all of our children tend to have their own unique personalities, and they also have unique learning styles. And so as a district, we really make a commitment to try to meet each child where they are. We also spend, to the second bullet, we also really think a lot, not only about academics, but who these young children are as people, and focusing on the whole child. And that means giving them opportunities to play, giving them opportunities to experience art, giving them opportunities to build things in the classroom. It's not just about learning reading and math, which are very important, but it's about developing that whole person and allowing them to bring their full selves to the classroom. And we pride ourselves on trying to create a program and an environment where they can do that. I did mention here at the bottom the district social emotional learning program. For those of you who have kids in school, in elementary school, you've heard about this, but Ruler is a program that comes out of Yale University. It's a research-based program about social emotional learning and how to identify and name emotions so that we can better understand our emotional state and we can present a best version of ourselves in life. So again, this is based on a lot of research that came out of Yale and other places, but it's a model that we use to get children to think about who they are, how they feel on any given day or at any given time, and how they might use specific strategies to change how they feel to be successful at school and in the classroom. So we feel pretty passionate about this program. We've seen a lot of success come from it. We try to model it as teachers and educators. We use it in our meetings, and it's been a really great approach to thinking about how behavior and how feelings can shape outcomes during our day. So here is a photo of my now 6-year-old, Finn, but I wanted to just share a photo of him, not only because I think this is a darling photo and he's near and dear to my heart, but as an example of, a personal example of being the parent of a kindergartner. Now, granted, this has been an unusual year with the school closure, and that has thrown sort of everything into an unknown realm for a lot of us. But I did want to just reflect on parenting a 5-year-old and what that's like. So, you know, I think all of us know that this age brings challenges. Kids are exploring themselves, they're coming into their own. In Finn's case, he's a really interesting balance of being shy in front of people sometimes and then being incredibly obstinate and strong-willed with his family members. Maybe you experience some of that with your children. But what I do love about this age is just the curiosity, the wanting to understand the world around you and wanting to ask questions and understand science and just that innate curiosity that children bring. I did a quick review of the research on 5-year-olds in the last couple of days, and the research was talking about how they're just kind of growing into their elementary selves and they're learning fine motor skills and gross motor skills and learning how to control their bodies and control their emotions. And it's a wonderful age, and an age, you know, I have colleagues, including some of the principals on the call who have older children, and often when we talk about the younger kids, they kind of have this look of nostalgia on their faces as they remember their own children when they were this age. And so I think it's an age to be celebrated. Sometimes the days are hard. I think for those of us who parent kids this age, we can relate to that. But it is a beautiful age and one we want to celebrate. So getting into sort of the program and the nuts and bolts, many people on the call, I think, already have their children enrolled. If you are on the call and you don't, here's our online form. So you go to our website, and we'll make this presentation available after it's being recorded, and you can log on. But you go onto our website, and really you just follow the steps, and it's fairly intuitive in terms of how to register your child for kindergarten. The documents that you need to enroll are a copy of your child's birth certificate, their immunization status, and there's a new law this year that must be met in terms of verification. And so you can see the list on our website of what you need to do in terms of immunizations, and then custody or guardianship paperwork. And so all of that, again, is available on our website. And you'll see in the bottom of this slide, there's a contact. If you have any questions about enrollment, you can contact Ann Berard, and you can see her email address below and her phone number as well. I did want to mention, as we're going through this presentation, that there is a chat function in Zoom. If you don't see it at the top or at the bottom of your screen, you can click on More, and you'll see a chat function. There's also a Q&A function. If you post any questions in there, we will try to answer them. So if something comes up that you wonder about and you'd like further clarification on, please feel free to post a question in the chat or in the Q&A, and we will answer those. So health concerns. We have a talented nursing staff in Anacortes, and Emily Wade is the leader of that nursing staff. She's on the call, and Emily has been just a real stalwart in terms of ensuring that our kids are safe. In any year she does this with health plans and making sure that we review health plans carefully and that we know what individual students' needs are. And then she's done double duty with her team recently amid COVID-19. And as you may know, we're running a childcare program at Island View for essential employees. And Emily and her team have done a fabulous job just ensuring that we're following protocols and monitoring health carefully in terms of the kids and the adults who are coming to school. So health is important. We really work closely with families to make sure that health needs are being addressed, and just encourage you to contact Emily with any specific questions, and you'll find there's a health form online that you can fill out to describe individual family or child needs. So we're going to turn now to inside a kindergarten classroom, and you're going to get an opportunity to hear a little bit more about what it looks like inside the classroom. We've invited two kindergarten teachers, Marcus Knowles from Whitney and Michelle Goodwin from Fidalgo, to share just a little perspective from their vantage point about what parents and families can expect when their children are in kindergarten next year. So with that, Mr. Knowles, if you'd like to share, that'd be great.
Well, thank you, Mark. Yeah, kindergarten has been one of the best choices I've ever made coming in teaching kindergarten. I think this is my third year here. And one of my favorite things that happens in kindergarten is actually before kindergarten, we have interviews for 3 days that we will interview everybody, all the parents that come in and the kids that come in. And I think that really sets the tone and the culture of a nice parent-teacher student relationship that I feel like just starts everybody off on the right foot. Kindergarten, it is a full day kindergarten. I find that kids are pretty tired all the way through by October, November, and so getting that rest and stuff like that is very, very important. And they do have a hard time that first day and for the first few months. As far as what the kindergarten day looks like, we generally start off with a morning meeting, and we do a lot of literacy work. We have some very strong curriculum. All 11 kindergarten teachers work really well together to make sure that you're getting a very similar experience in all 11 classes. What's nice about it, though, is we're all kind of bringing our own personality to that. I like to play some guitar, and we do a lot of singing in our classroom, and it's just a lot of fun. All of our math, we work together as a team to make sure all of our math is doing some nice work, and we're still working together as that team to make sure even through all this, it's looking very similar. One of the things that I really like is that even with all of our specialists and our recesses and our lunches and all of our field trips, this time is really highlighted for me how important every minute is together. As a team of kindergartners, we learn best from each other. And so when we do all of our work, they're really working together and they're learning from each other and they're learning from those experiences. So every minute that they're spending together is something that I think, I don't know if I appreciate it as much as I do right now. I really miss them, and I think they miss each other. So.
Thank you, Marcus. Marcus, I know that you do a lot of some free play in your classroom and building. Can you just talk a little bit about that in terms of creativity and what students do?
Sure, that looks a little bit different in every class. I kind of follow a guideline of what's called plan to review. It's kind of a guided play model that they make a plan, they share with the class what their plan is, and then they go do that. It's a free time where they are creative. They're using that time to be creative, to work on whatever their plan is, and then we review the plan as a class at the end of that time so that we can improve that thing the next day, get ideas from each other. And again, it's that whole we're learning as a team, as a class. So it's called plan to review, and it's a model that I think really helps kids move forward and structure their play so that they're getting the most out of it and learning some really neat things that they're doing in the class.
And what are your favorite moments in a kindergarten classroom? Like as a teacher, what makes you joyous?
I think the moment they're coming in, I think the moment I miss the most right now is the moments they're coming into class. Very, very, very rarely does a kid not come in completely jazzed to be there. And I think that's the moment I miss the most, is that very first 5 minutes of the school day.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. So Michelle Goodwin is a kindergarten teacher at Fidalgo, and she's going to talk a little bit about what it's like to be a teacher and touching on maybe some of the social emotional aspects of being a teacher with children. And I think she has a special guest as well.
I do. I brought in a special guest this morning. Her name is Claire Goodwin, and she's a kindergarten student at Fidalgo. So she wanted to share a little bit about what kindergarten is like. Claire, what is the best thing about kindergarten?
Doing art with my friends.
And you said earlier you know that your teacher really cares about you. What does she do to show you that she cares?
When I'm having trouble to cut, she helps me cut.
And what are some of your favorite memories from this year, looking back?
Gingerbread house making and Valentine's passing.
Sounds like you do some really special things in the classroom. And what would you say to a new kindergartner that's coming into school?
Don't be shy. It's really fun at kindergarten, especially when you make friends.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Claire. That was perfect. Thank you very much for sharing.
Now can I go and play?
Yes. Just like Marcus, I really enjoy the play aspect of kindergarten. I always hear from parents, they say, I really don't feel like my child is ready, but I think every teacher in the district is ready for your child. I think they recognize that every student comes in at a different developmental level, and it's really fun to see and to watch them grow each year. So I know that this year we're ready to receive those smiling faces.
That's great. So Michelle, can you talk a little bit about kids coming into the classroom, and how do you, what does it look like in terms of building a classroom culture at the beginning of the year, in terms of building relationships?
My very favorite thing is one of the students' jobs is to stand at the door and greet all the other students. So that's probably their favorite job in the world, is one student standing there, and as the line comes through, they can either give them a high five or a handshake or just say hello. And that personal interaction with another student, it just brings a smile to everyone's face.
That's great. Now, can you talk a little bit about, I'm sure there's some parents who are wondering, you know, does my kid have, does my child have the skills, you know, will he or she be successful? How do you, as a kindergarten teacher, sort of assess skills at the beginning of the year and support children that way?
Just like Marcus said, we meet with every single family before the first day of school. And I love that interview time. It's a chance to get to know the parents and to get to know the student. And we'll show every student what to do on that very first day, where to line up, where their seat is, they'll see their name tag. And I think it just makes the first day go so much easier if they're at that meeting.
And before we closed school, what was the highlight of the year for you this year in terms of your own kindergarten class?
I love the playtime. Like Marcus said, that last 60 minutes of the day, we give them time to play and interact with one another and build community. And I love watching them in the block station or the art station, or doing games together and making friendships and talking about those things and really planning what they're going to play, and then afterwards talking about it.
Great. Well, thank you so much to both you and Marcus for sharing perspective, and go ahead and stay on the line. And then if we have any specific questions, we might come back to you. But thank you. And thank you to Claire for a very nice presentation of what it's like to be a kindergartner at Fidalgo. That was great. So we talked a little bit about this already, but well, this talks about the first day of school. So it's September 8th, 2020. And you just heard a reference to those interviews that are held September 2nd through 4th to allow students to get to know their teachers and address questions. And that's a really important getting to know you time. Of course, this year is different, and we want to, you know, identify the elephant in the room with coronavirus and the pandemic and the governor's stay-at-home orders. So we don't know yet what's going to happen in the fall. And there is a statewide task force right now working on this very issue. It's a huge issue, as you all know, for schools across the nation, and a really tricky issue because there's a lot of interest and desire to see schools resume. And then from a public health perspective, obviously, we all need to be very careful about how we're following public guidance to make sure that everybody stays safe. And so we don't know the answers yet to what will happen in Anacortes this fall or throughout the state in terms of the governor's directives, but it's likely that we will get guidance in the next few weeks, which we'll be communicating actively to our families. We are, as I think you all know, virtual right now in terms of having a continuous learning program where kids are at home with teachers sending out work and meeting them online. And our hope is that we'll be able to be live at school in the fall But again, we have to wait to see how the state addresses the public health crisis and what happens this summer with coronavirus. So we are prepared either way to be able to provide great service to our families. And once we are back in school, it'll be a joyous occasion for everyone. So you can see we'll be posting information through email, through our website and Facebook, and we'll make sure that everybody stays updated as we learn more. So here are our 4 schools, Fidalgo, Island View, Mount Airy, and Whitney. All of our schools, all of these schools have kindergarten programs. As you may know, Whitney is an early childhood education center. So Whitney has more kindergarten programs or classrooms than the other schools, but the 11 classrooms are distributed across the schools, and they're all great. Marcus talked about how teachers collaborate closely, and what I love is I walk into kindergarten classrooms across the district, and the quality of learning is very similar and very high across those classrooms. So I think it really speaks to what Marcus shared in terms of deep collaboration, making sure teachers are learning from each other and teaching similar content. And so I think the long and short of it is no matter where your child goes in Anacortes, he or she will receive a great kindergarten education. And that gives me a lot of pride and joy as superintendent. So here is our esteemed group of principals. You can see them here. Let me just tell you a little bit about them. I'm going to do a quick biographical sketch of each. So Kevin Schwartz has been a principal in Anacortes since 2006. His administrative experience has spanned the K-12 system, and he's currently the principal at Mount Airy. His teaching experience was primarily in the early childhood area with a focus on special education and early intervention programs. So Kevin is sort of our early childhood guru in the district, having been at Whitney for quite a while and now being the principal at Mount Airy. Tara Dowd is in her 13th year as principal at Fidalgo. Previously, she served as middle school principal for many years. She's taught 3rd through 8th grade, and she enjoys time with her husband, Steve, son, Cassius, who is a sophomore this year, and also went to Fidalgo. And they have a 9-week-old puppy, which is an important part of their family story right now. I understand that a lot of families during the coronavirus school closure are getting animals to give them solace. And I'm hearing about this from my family members. We're trying to resist that pressure right now, but I think that the puppy has brought Tara and her family a lot of joy. So Brian Hanrahan is a familiar face to many. Brian's been the principal at Island View for 9 years, and he says that every day he's inspired by the curiosity and sheer exuberance of children. After teaching at the high school level for 20 years, Brian wanted to work with students who were just beginning their educational journeys. And Shannon Gilbert has been in the district for 15 years. She has a specialty in supporting English language learners and joined the administrative team in 2014. She's the principal at Whitney, and she has a passion for supporting students and families with special needs. So on a personal note, I think we have a fantastic principal team here in our elementary schools and our secondary schools, but to a person, these are very high quality educators who understand the nuances of teaching and learning, but more importantly, they understand children and they understand relationships, and they have huge hearts. These are 4 incredibly caring individuals who model that every day at school and to make it a priority to take care of children and families and know that they're valued and loved and do everything they can to help kids have a positive experience. So I'm very proud to introduce our 4 principals. So how do I choose a school? We are a choice district, and we have board policy that guides us in this. Now it's interesting every year because a number of parents really don't have a strong preference, and if they don't have siblings in other schools, usually they're fine often kind of going to any of the schools. Sometimes they might want a school closer to home, but regardless, we have a process by which you can express a preference for a given school. Know that we do have a policy that guides us in our decision making in terms of, you can see it there in the bullet points, if a student has special needs, we take a look at that and we look at programs that might be appropriate. We look at class size and gender balance across the district. We consider siblings. If a child has siblings at a given school, they do get preference for that school. And then the preference of parents and guardians. So there is a policy that guides us. If you do have a specific school that you would like to request, there's an opportunity to do that in the application process. If not, it's not a problem at all, and we'll place your child where we think there's a best fit. Transportation, we of course provide transportation to all of our enrolled students. Once you receive your building placement, so those placement letters go out in August, and they do that because we get a lot of registrations during the summer, and it helps us to create that balance across classrooms. If we wait until August to notify families, it really helps us in terms of making sure there's good equilibrium across the district. So those letters go out in August, and that's when you can go on to the link here on our transportation site, on our website, and find through Info Finder, find your bus route. And you can see there's our transportation director's contact information is there on the bottom. We have packets will be mailed out to all families later in August. And this has a lot of information. If you're a new family to the district, it has the district calendar, our handbook, transportation handbook, and free and reduced lunch applications. So often we get this question about what can parents do now getting ready for kindergarten. And so you heard a little bit about this from our teachers, but kind of trying to keep consistency is important. You heard Mr. Knowles talk about kids being tuckered at the end of the day in kindergarten and just making sure that they stay in a routine. We're actually struggling with this at my home right now with our kindergartner who thinks that somehow being up at 10 or 10:30 is okay. And we put them down to bed at 8:30 and still up 2 hours later, go figure. But trying to establish those routines is important. Simple chores, consistent bedtimes. And then the second bullet, I think you all know this because you hear it a lot, and I'm sure many of you do it on a regular basis, but reading time is so important. Exposing kids to words and ideas, reading out loud with them, just kind of celebrating stories and letting them see you be a reader is huge. And looking at pictures and asking them to predict what might happen in the story, just kind of getting them really interested in books and enjoying books is such a key feature of becoming ready for kindergarten and ready for reading. We put a few frequently asked questions here at the bottom. So you can see we've got food services. So we have a 20-minute lunch every day. And then it says that lunch accounts can be managed online. Recess, we have morning, lunch, and afternoon recess time, so we really believe in the importance of recess. Here you have the school start times. They're very close together, 9, 9:05, 9:10. Early release Wednesdays are our professional development time. This is pretty standard across school districts in the state and the nation. It's very important that our teachers have time to collaborate, to plan, to talk about student learning. And so we have an early release on Wednesdays, so school ends 1 hour earlier to allow for that collaboration. And our schools do have a before school program for working families. Each school offers a program about an hour before school starts. Every year when we do our kindergarten welcome, we ask parents to do an activity where they share their hopes and dreams. And we do it really as a community building exercise to get parents to think about their children who are incoming or 5 years old and thinking about who they're going to become in the future and just vision that a little bit. So we have a few quotes here that talk a little bit about hopes and dreams. So I'd like to read these out loud to you. These are from 3 parents of incoming kindergartners. I hope they follow their hearts and learn to love everyone, regardless of a person's looks or circumstances in life. I hope they know that they can become anything they want as long as they try hard and never give up. After 2 years traveling aboard our sailboat with few opportunities for Andy to interact with kids his age, we hope that kindergarten will give him the opportunity to develop lasting friendships. I hope his teachers and I are able to keep up and support his educational needs as things change. But the dream is that he goes to kindergarten in September without gloves, mask, or gown, and can once again hug a friend. Hallelujah on that one. I think we all would love to see that happen, where kids don't have to worry about coronavirus and we all can get beyond this public health crisis and just allow kids to be kids and be in school and develop those friendships and meet their teachers and get excited about learning. So I'm hoping that the world will allow us to make that happen. And in the meantime, we will do our best to make sure that we can support you, regardless of how the educational program looks in September, and do our best to get to know your kids and help them be successful in their school journey. So we've come to the end of our presentation. Wondering if they're not seeing, I saw one question under the chat about a registration question, so we'll get back on that one. So here's a question that just came in about after-school programs. Are there after-school programs available? So would one of our principals like to answer that? Talk a little bit about after-school programs.
Well, I'll just jump in for Fidalgo. We do not have an after-school program. We often have different activities offered. There's a chess class, Lego class. So there's frequently opportunities after school, but not an ongoing after-school childcare program. Maybe the other principals could chime in about your schools.
No, it's the same at Island View. We have periodic opportunities to engage kids after school, but nothing on a consistent basis. That said, we do have transportation to the Boys and Girls Club, and many of our students do attend that program at the end of the school day.
There's also the YMCA before and after the Bell program that operates out of Whitney Elementary School. So kids will take the bus to Whitney from whatever campus they're attending to go to an after school program that goes until about 6 at Whitney, and also operates before school as well. And the kids can take the bus from the morning program to whatever campus they attend from Whitney.
Thank you. So I'm seeing questions about when and how. So there's a question about when and how will we be notified of school and teacher placement. So that's an August letter or email communication that goes directly to families, notifying them of the school and the teacher placement. Principals, do you want to add anything to that in terms of that process?
One thing that I always try to remind people is that if for some reason you have a different last name, siblings in your household, it's although our system does a really nice job of recognizing that, if we miss it, please don't hesitate to reach out and let us know that you might have siblings in your household with different last names.
Some of these questions are being answered in the chat, and then we'll address some of them head on. There was a question about what does kindergarten look like now with distance learning. I'll ask our kindergarten teachers to jump in on that one.
We've gotten some guidelines from the district as to kind of some of the outline of what it looks like, but we worked as a team for weeks trying to decide what it's going to look like. Right now we're using an online portfolio platform called Seesaw, where we are uploading activities, we're doing videos of ourselves doing some instruction, and then kids are uploading videos of themselves doing that work or activities on there. That's just a few activities a day. And then we do a weekly Zoom, all class, kindergarten class Zoom. And if you've ever wanted to see some interesting, funny things, it's kids making faces, and they all look like this. Some of them are eating and doing all sorts of fun things. So it's good times. So there's a weekly class check-in where kids can kind of just see, talk to each other and see what each other are doing, and then some daily work through our Seesaw instruction. But we have moved forward with instruction, and the kids are doing some great work. I'm really proud of all of them.
Thank you. Michelle, did you want to add anything to that?
I think he covered everything. There's a lot of collaboration among teachers right now to post things. And so I really feel like we're on the same page, probably even more now than we would in a regular classroom with the online learning.
Great. School request. Can you, Anne, I know you were answering some questions as well, or Danette. Could you speak to where the school request form is, or where they note that?
You bet. It's actually on our website. If you go to asd103.com or .org, if you search form 3131, it'll pop up there.
Thank you. So you said form 3131, you search for that on the website and it pops up?
Correct.
Thank you. There was a question about making sure twins are not in the same class. So we will make note of that, but if you have already filled out a school, if you've already registered, we've got this as notification. So we'll make note of that request. Seeing if there are any more questions out here. All right, would anyone else from the group like to add anything before we close out here in terms of any final sentiments about the kindergarten year or information you think it would be helpful for the group to know? It's an open invitation. All right. Well, let me just check one more time here. Toro, there's a question about the webinar recording being made available.
Yep, it'll get posted just as soon as I can download and upload this evening, and it'll be on the district website. I'll put it on the homepage.
Great, thank you. And then there was a question asking just for confirmation that teacher, parent, and prospective kindergarten interviews will be held September 2nd through 4th. And that is correct.
Mark?
Yes.
Just a quick, there's also a question in here about how long kids are on the bus, and that varies depending on the route. And, just time, there's time spent as they transfer from one building, because they'll pick up in town. We have Mount Airy, Island View, and Whitney that the buses are picking up at. So they go to Mount Airy, and then they all travel to Island View and pick up students, and then they go to Whitney and pick up kiddos, and then they start dropping kids off at various locations throughout town. But the transportation portion of our website has information about routes and about how much time the kids might be on the bus and things of that sort. It differs from place to place.
Right, thank you. All right, well, I just want to thank both our panel here of support staff and teachers, principals, everybody for being part of the call. I want to thank all of you for listening in, asking your questions, and I just want to end by saying we are super excited to welcome your children to our school district. And kindergarten is an inherently joyous time in life. It's a crazy time with kid energy and But as a parent of a kindergartner, when it comes to be about this time of year, many kindergartners turn the corner and start to become readers. And it is so exciting to watch their brains work and see them start to put words together and understand stories and get that confidence of becoming a reader and becoming a learner. And that's part of the joy of kindergarten. So again, I just wanted to thank you for joining us this evening. We will post this presentation so you'll have access to it. There are links and email addresses for follow-up if you have specific questions on registration or teacher questions or health questions. Please do feel free to follow up with us. We'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. Have a wonderful night, and we look forward to welcoming you to the school district next year. Thank you, everybody. Take care.